everyone, welcome to Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Smart Nivesh Sahi Nivesh, partnered by Times Network. Now in this segment, we've traveled all the way to Bengaluru to meet a lovely couple, and we'll find out from them about their financial planning journey and more importantly, the role that mutual funds have played in this journey of theirs.
Hi, I'm a Goan. I was born in Maharashtra, did my studies and engineering in electronics and communication, and then I have been in Bangalore ever since 2003.
I'm born and brought up in Goa. I've done my engineering from Goa and then I was working in software for around 5 years.
I work in semiconductor industry, focusing on designing and verification of computer chips.
Now I'm an artist, so I was able to convert my passion into my profession.
Hi, my name is Suraj Kamath,
Hi, I'm Divya Kamath.
and we both have been investing in mutual funds since the last 12 years.
So Suraj, Divya, thank you so much for welcoming us into your lovely home. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Suraj, first up, tell me a little bit about, the money and the investment journey of yours.
Sure. So I come from a small town, and when I started my work, I had absolutely no real awareness of money and how to make use of it. It was all friends' advice, this advice, that. And at some point, I realized that I really don't understand this. I need to do something different about it. I mean, the realization came when I took my first home and I went for a home loan. And that's when I tried to understand about the home loan product, I did come across a book which talked about financial planning. And I searched about it and I got in touch with a person. And that conversation slowly led me to the realization that, if you sort out what you need money for, then it makes, a great difference to how you look at money, rather than just thinking, I want to be rich. Try to put in a perspective of where you need money and what you need it for. That does help.
That's fantastic, Suraj. And so now, Divya, tell me a little bit about your journey and your background also.
So we actually started with this journey of financial planning when Ahan was born. So that is the thing, Ahan was just 2 months old. That was the time we started. After we did this financial planning, that actually gave us confidence, and I can actually start working and looking forward to my passion, which was art. And then yes, I moved to my art as a passion, so now I'm an artist. So initially I was a bit scared, because I'm like, how can we tell about our thing to someone stranger? But then Suraj got me into confidence and we were like, okay, let's start, because we were looking for the best, what we can give for Ahan. Yeah. So his education, his future. So we are like, yes, we have to work on it.
I mean, the way, I would like to say is that one needs to look at this like how somebody looks at a family doctor or a family lawyer. So consider this as something which is, a professional thing. You need professional advice. First, accept that you need professional advice. And once you do that, then you are able to entrust that person with the information. And ultimately, the person is there to help you reach your goals, right?
So along with all the goals, so we are like, we have to enjoy, we should travel. So it's aisa nahi ki whatever is earned, just put it for the future. So we have to start living plus save for the future,
Right. But Suraj, when you started investment, do you remember maybe the first mutual fund that you invested in, the role of mutual funds in your investment journey?
I would say that when I began investments, I was really not knowing about much. I knew about shares, I knew about the FDs, the typical knowledge that we get at home. And I made some mistakes, a lot of them. I tried investing myself in equities directly, and I could see that there was no real, way that I was able to figure out what to do. And about mutual funds per se, I really didn't know much until I started this financial journey.
Right.
And that is the point. And the reason I went towards that was I came to a realization that I'm really not able to figure this out on my own. So mutual funds, when I looked at it first and understood it, that's when I figured out that you have got this categorization, and based on the market cap plus the perspective of whether it's debt or equity, and you've got different categories within each of them looking at different purposes. So once that was understood, and from a financial planning angle, looking at the goal and the timeline and the fund which makes most sense for it. So that structure actually came into place only when I entered the journey of financial planning.
Suraj, the base of financial planning is setting a goal. So of course you've set goals, somewhere you might have achieved some goals or you've come close to achieving these goals with the help of investing in mutual funds. So can you give me an example of where either you've achieved a goal or come close to achieving a goal thanks to the investments in mutual funds?
Many such instances where some of our goals have been achieved already. We had to do a thread ceremony for my son when he was, we did it 3 years back, I think, when we moved into this home. But in context, it's a mini reception kind of function that you need to conduct. And towards that, we started investing much ahead, and it was in equity. And then a couple of years before the goal, it all was switched into debt funds, so that the time when we wanted to conduct, all the money was available to us without disturbing our monthly finances or anything.
Super.
Even the first car we bought was something which I had not thought possible, that I, because I had a hatchback previously and I went for an SUV, and there was a big difference in the price. But that is something we figured out a way with the help of the planner, that this is how you can do it, and let's do it, right? So, and I think we do travel a lot every year, at least 2 to 3 times outside India and many times inside India. And travel is a passion that both of us share. She loves art and culture, I love history. So we try to figure out what's there for both of us. And we've discussed this, like how can we achieve this goal without impacting our, and we came to a conclusion of that, okay, we should have a travel fund, which is replenished every year with certain additional bonus that I get or some lump sum. And then that bucket is what we use every year to meet our travel goals. Now, these are things otherwise I would not have thought about them in this manner, right? So this is helping me really compartmentalize my thinking and how to achieve it.
That's great to know. And Suraj, as part of your investment portfolio, what are the different kinds of mutual funds that you've invested in? Maybe can you tell me a little bit about the goals that they are linked to as well?
In general, I would categorize myself as a moderate risk.
Right.
So I do want appreciation, but I also do not want a lot of losses. And so that determines what kind of funds this money gets invested into, apart from the goal itself, right? So if the goal is long term, it's more into direct equity or blue chip stocks or even small caps are coming there. But if the goal is short term and immediate, then definitely arbitrage funds have been the best ones in recent times. That's where most of our money that we need for any, like we are getting a car tomorrow, all of that money has been always parked into arbitrage. So that when we want to use it, it is protected, plus it might get some appreciation on top of it. So I would say it's a mix of many different kinds based on the goal. I got flexi cap, arbitrage, small cap. Some of them are passive as well, Nifty based funds. So I really trust the advisor, financial planner's advice here in these matters.
And Divya, well, you're an artist. So for this, do you have any goal in mind for the profession? I mean, the way ahead, any professional goals that you have?
Like now, basically I do art based on order. So whenever I receive an order, so it's like customized art. So whatever I'm earning, so I use it for sustaining my business.
Got it.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to someday, put up some gallery and.
Superb.
Yeah.
So is that something that, again, something that you've discussed with the planner to kind of maybe include that, or is that something that comes up in the regular review?
It is. I mean, in the context of, we did discuss, I mean, because financial planning is not individualistic, it's for the entire family.
Exactly.
Right. And this aspect has been there where we said that she wants to set up a business and go about it. And we did receive good advice on how to do that. And we took a call that the money that she earns out of it can be used to sustain and grow her business rather than feeding towards any of these goals.
12-year-old son Ahan. So have you all already introduced him to financial planning, to the concept of money, or is this something that's down the line that you have in mind and you're going to be working towards, to shed some more light on that?
So what we have done is we have got him his bank account and his own debit card. But this is the year now that we plan to introduce like a concept of money with budget and goals to him and see how he takes.
So whenever we travel, okay, we give him a budget per day.
Okay.
So like this much amount is there, you can buy whatever you want. So it excludes food, but yes, if he wants to have some candies or something, so that's included in that budget. So then he knows now what he's supposed to buy, how he's supposed to, I mean, he can manage. Probably he can manage better than us when it comes to
he's cost
managing.
conscious.
Yeah, he's
In his mind, there is a certain value to a certain thing, and he doesn't want to pay more than that.
Yeah.
So, but he's a different personality.
Absolutely. But Suraj, one thing is there that the equity markets by nature are volatile. So they're up, they're down, it keeps fluctuating. That impacts your portfolio. How do you keep your peace of mind? How do you keep your mental balance when that portfolio is going down, for example?
I mean, I really know that SIPs are, it's an SIP and it will do more. When the markets are down, you will buy more units. When the markets are up, you will buy less units, but you would have bought something in the past which will now be of higher NAV or higher value. So it's the same thing really. Focus on that, okay, my goal is coming near, do I have the amount? So there is a thing that I would like to say that if you know what you need the money for, then it becomes much easier. That the focus has to be on, is your goal getting achieved rather than is your money growing. I think that brings a difference in how you look at things.
Superb. Any piece of advice from both of you to the viewers out there on managing finances as a couple? Any advice?
Yeah, I think you should go for financial planning because it actually gives you a proper idea of how you can manage your future, your present, and with comfort.
Right.
So do not ignore money. I think we all are good at creating money, but we are not good at spending money.
Right. And last bit, any thoughts on the role of mutual funds in this whole journey?
To an average person who doesn't understand money or doesn't have the time and energy to follow the markets closely, mutual funds is the only way in my view, because it gives you a structured approach where you can categorize your investments based on the goals. And you do not really then need to do anything more rather than just be disciplined about it, right? And it is a liquid asset. I mean, if you want to redeem, you get your money in a couple of days.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Suraj and Divya, for talking to us. It was an absolute pleasure interacting with you. All the very best for the way ahead and on your financial journey. Thank you so much. Welcome back to Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Smart Nivesh Sahi Nivesh, partnered by Times Network. We're talking to an expert, and what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about kya mutual fund sahi hai for married couples. Now, when you're a couple, you have to manage both each other's investment habits, each other's goals. How do we do that? For that, I have an expert with me here in studio. I have with me Neil Parekh. He's the CEO of PPFAS Mutual Fund. Neil, thank you so much for being here and for talking to us. A very important topic, but just starting off first, as a couple, both individuals, they might be having different thoughts towards money. How do you advise people to kind of have that conversation about money between a couple to get the financial goals at least on the same page?
Thanks, Sumit, for having me over. It's a very interesting topic we have today. So for every successful relationship, communication is extremely important, and especially true with married couples, So again, one of the things I have seen change over the last 5 or 7 years is that a lot more conversation has been happening between the two spouses, the husband and wife. The women is taking more interest in the finances. I mean, go back 10 years back also, and it would only be brother, husband, father who would be managing that, and the lady would probably not know much about it. And God forbid if something unfortunate happens, first of all, you have to deal with the grief of the person you're losing. On top of that, you're in full confusion because you don't know where the money is there, where the money is going to come from, and if there are some negative surprises, even worse, you know. So I'm glad that the communication is happening, and the communication cannot happen only once. It has to be continuous, because as we've seen, things keep changing. It's a very dynamic world. Our lives are very dynamic. Things change. A COVID-like situation can happen and wipe away whatever your goals were, your plans were. So it's extremely important to have that open, transparent conversation between the two people and get on the same page.
Correct. So absolutely, because before people get married, they always see your habits, my habits. They check each other's kind of behavior. So, I mean, they know that they're on the same plane. But what happens in investment if one spouse is an aggressive investor while the other spouse is a conservative investor? What's your advice to them? How should they match their financial goals?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I think for that, I think we need to have goal-based investing. So as a couple, as a married couple, you'll have shared goals. And those shared goals would be that we want to buy a house after, say, 10 years, or child's education abroad, for example, you know. So there are these shared goals that you would have, and for that I think you need to have a plan in place, investment plan in place, an asset allocation to be done for those goals. So you have those target goals and you invest according to that. If it's long-term goals, you probably be more equity heavy. If the goal is coming in within the next 2 or 3 years, you start shifting that to a liquid arbitrage kind of a fund or something safer to manage that, because the payments or the purchase is going to happen at that point. After that, whatever is remaining, if you have anything remaining in terms of investment, I think two people can make their own personal investment however they want. But it's very important that those shared goals are shared actually, and the investments are done according to a plan.
Neil, you know, when we're talking about mutual funds for married couples, what would be some ideal mutual funds for them in two scenarios? One is for a newly married couple that's just maybe 6 months married or something, and another couple that's maybe been married for 10 years or roughly like that. How do you guide them?
Yeah, so I will take probably 3 steps to this.
Yeah.
First is to obviously make a asset allocation, you know, debt, equity, whatever other assets you want to do it for goals and stuff like that. After that, I think it's very important to have an emergency corpus, emergency fund. 6 months to 12 months, that depends on it'll depend on individual to individual, but minimum 6 months should be there. Then I think from an equity point of view, so I'll take equity and debt, you know. For an equity point of view, I think for most people, 2 diversified equity funds and 1 large cap index fund is more than enough. You don't just 3. More than 3, I think it's suboptimal.
Wow.
So 3 funds, I think more than, and I will tell the person who's newly married and the person who's even 10 years or 20 years married that this should be your equity funds.
Right.
The only difference would be the allocation towards them would be more or less depending on where they are. So if they are newly married, I would say please go a lot more heavier on equity. Someone who's 10 years married, I would assume they have some goals that are maturing or coming there. So I would tell them to take out some money from equity, put it in a safer asset or liquid or arbitrage, and then you And I would tell them to do this a year and a half in advance from where their goal is maturing.
That's important. Neil, one other thing that happens with couples is where, I'm assuming right now where the husband and wife both are earning. So very often it happens that maybe the loan is on one person's name and the other spouse is the one that's investing for growth. Very important conversation to be had there. But what are your insights from your experience with this? I mean, are you seeing that more and more of that happening? How do you advise any married couples that are watching?
In terms of joint holding or separate holding of the mutual funds?
Yeah.
Look, I think that's a very personal thing. I don't think there's a right or a wrong way to go. I think I've seen both being successful. I think when two people are earning, both the husband and wife are earning, and you are getting two cash flows, I think I've seen people being successful having separate mutual fund accounts, and because, for whatever reason. If one person is not working, I think it's probably fine to have a joint account, because in case something happens to the earner, the other spouse will automatically take over that account and it'll be in that person's name, So I think both both work. I don't think this one or that one, either one of them. It just depends on the situation you are in.
Yeah.
The main thing is to be on the same page. I mean, keep communicating. Like the first question we said, please keep communicating and be on the same page, because I have seen not communicating has led to more problems than anything else, you know. So
last point, Neil, you know, market volatility always there. But there are some people who have that real sense of FOMO, कि कुछ तो करना है, market is up down, so what more can I sell, buy to? And there is some who are just patiently sitting it out, weathering it out for the long game.
Yeah.
Your advice, what's your view?
My advice is less is more. So first of all, don't try to get every fund that's out there. Stick to your asset allocation. Like I said, from an equity point of view, don't need more than 3 funds. Honestly, that's pretty much, if you just do that much, you'll be fine. And have a long-term horizon. I think the main thing is that what I see people is they get out of one fund, get into the other fund. They will obviously pay taxes also here. Will have some other costs, distribution costs, whatever, what have you, you know. So I think important to look at equity from a very long-term perspective. I'm saying at least a decade. So at least have a decade kind of a view on equity. Once you've invested in 2 or 3 funds, just let them continue. Start doing keep your SIPs going. Increase your SIPs. That's all you need to do. Otherwise, don't do anything. Once it's like once you've started a plan, then just go with it and just increase it and just try to recalibrate it in terms of how much you need to add more to it, you know, and you'll reach your goals. Enjoy life. Otherwise, don't let your investments continue and concentrate on what's other important facets of your life.
Really well put, Neil. Thank you so much for your time and for coming in and for talking to us. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Neil Parekh. We were part of this special episode of Mutual Fund Sahi Hai presents Smart Nivesh, Sahi Nivesh, partnered by Times Network. Thank you so much for watching it.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.